Hi, this is BB Ukraine Analytics, the channel of top news, analytics and insights from Ukraine and about Ukraine and Russia-Ukraine's war. My name is Bogdan Butkevych, I'm a Ukrainian journalist and blogger.
Hi, and I'm Olena Vostrova, a Ukrainian vlogger, and today we'll analyze the most important events of the week. We'll tell you about the most significant results of our army on the battlefield, so subscribe for our channel if you want to know the truth and insider information about Ukraine and Russia-Ukraine war.
So Ukraine starts to side the initiative in the air war with Russian Federation. Plus, finally, significant results on the battlefield also begin.
Let's start with the air. It is obvious that Russia is currently actively preparing for attacks on the Ukrainian energy system in the fall. Therefore, it holds back the missiles produced in recent months.
After all, for the past few months, the Russian army has been shooting the missiles produced right from the conveyor, because the pre-war stocks of cruise and ballistic missiles were almost exhausted at the beginning of the spring of this year.
Unfortunately, Russia was able to organize the channels for smuggling Western components for missiles and drones. Therefore, the production of missiles, according to the Ukrainian intelligence, even increased several times compared to the pre-war times.
But still, this is not the level when, in the fall of 2022, Russia could fire 100 or more missiles in one volley. Therefore, the Russian Federation is now at a crossroads. Whether to continue shooting everything that has been produced right now or to hold off until the fall, in order to strike the already affected energy system of Ukraine and achieve the desired blackout, which wasn't, achieved last winter.
Plus, Russia gets problems with the technical resource for old Soviet-made strategic bombers. After all, after the collapse of the USSR, the Russian Federation engaged in only a small modernization of the old Tu-95 and Tu-22 missile carriers. But their very active exploitation during the last time exhausts their resource.
All the hope of the Russian Federation is concentrated on the new plant for Shahed UAVs productions, which the Iranians helped to build. Moscow hopes that in the fall this plant will help produce hundreds of kamikaze drones that will help paralyze the Ukrainian energy system and, the economy in general.
However, according to the information from the American press, the pace is already lagging behind the plant. Plus, there were big problems with the energies for those UAVs, because the German energies are used and sanctions are, though not very effective, but they still work.
And on this background, Ukraine began to use the UAVs more and more actively. Recently, there have been raids on Moscow almost every night, which paralyzed all airports for several hours.
And it should be taken into account that Russia is a very complicated country in terms of transport, where most areas can be quickly reached only by plane.
Plus, Moscow is the main transport hub in the Russian Federation, and every hour of downtime turns into tens of millions of dollars lost.
Plus, it is necessary to withdraw more and more air defense systems so that Ukrainian drones do not break through the Kremlin again. All this demonstrates the effectiveness of such raids. After all, the air defense system is not enough for the entire territory of the Russian Federation.
And so, over the past few days, Ukrainian drones have carried out two successful attacks on two military airfields where the strategic aviation of the Russian Federation is based: Soltsi in the Novgorod region and Shaykovka in Kaluga region.
Салют или что это? Кать, зови Ирку. Как это вот? Веселуха начинается. Мы не знаем.
As a result, according to the defense intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, two Tu-22 were completely destroyed and two more were badly damaged. This is a super successful operation of the Ukrainian Defense Forces.
Plus, we should mention the huge raid of Ukrainian UAVs during the night of August 25 in Crimea.
С-3, мам. Беспилотник полетел.
Над нами сейчас дрон пролетел.
Russians claim that 42 UAVs took part in it, all of which, as the Russians said, were shot down. But there are a lot of videos with explosions on the social networks, so Ukraine has started to produce more of its own UAVs.
Plus, the appearance of the Ukrainian answer to Lancet, a Ukrainian barrage unity called Perun, is expected at the front.
So, it should also be noted the super successful operation of the armed force in Crimea. On August 23, for the first time in history, the Neptune cruise missile of the naval forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine destroyed a particularly important ground target, the Podlet air reconnaissance radar and the launcher of the C-40 missile system Triumph.
Podlet is the eyes of Triumph. The radar provides civilians of the airspace for both low-altitude targets and ballistic missiles, and is a key component of the air and missile defense of the Russian armed forces.
According to SensorNet sources, the intelligence of the naval forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine received accurate information about the locations of the S-400 positional area near the village of Olena in the territory of temporarily occupied Crimea.
The radar provided control of the air situation of the western part of the Black Sea and over the territory of the Kherson region from a distance of approximately 110 kilometers from the front line.
Naval forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine identified a new cruise missile of the Neptune land-based missile complex to attack the S-400 position and programmed the route and flight characteristics to bypass Russian civilians' systems.
One Neptune missile at a very low altitude went unnoticed and accurately destroyed part of the Triumph division despite the large forces of Russian air defense, concentrated in the occupied Kherson region and Crimea.
The results of the defeat were recorded by a drone of the main Directorate of the Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. It is interesting that the drone flew far into the rear of the Russians and was flying and recording damage to the Russian radar, which is designed specifically to detect air targets, but is unable to detect and provide targeting either for the Ukrainian drone or for the Ukrainian cruise missile.
Even during the war, Russia continues to supply Turkey and India with Triumph air defense systems and Podlet radars according to the old contracts. But Russian military technologies, in this case, are obviously inferior to Ukrainian military technologies.
According to SensorNet sources, the modification of the Neptune missile was developed after the start of a full-scale invasion in accordance with the decision of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Valery Zaluzhny, on March of 2022. The work was carried out very quickly and the missile were tested immediately in battle. A new outstanding success of the Neptune missiles of the domestic design, Bureau, Luch and soldiers of the Navy of the Armed Forces of Ukraine.
In addition, on the night of August 24, a Ukrainian subversive group landed on the territory of Crimea on Cape Tarkhankut, caused heavy losses to the Russians, more than 30 dead, and was able to leave without its losses, which suggests that Crimea has become a very dangerous place for the Russian army. This is no longer its rear, but the battlefield.
Сейчас флаг повесим, станем скажем. Героям слава!
Now about the situation with the offensive of the Ukrainian army. Despite the many publications in the Western media about the failure of the counter-offensive, in reality it is only now starting, to give some results. As military experts in Ukraine said, Zaluzhnyn's new tactics, that is tactics of attacks by small infantry groups of well-trained infantry supported by the overwhelming Russian Western artillery, gave results.
In several directions, Ukrainian troops reached the main line of defense of the Russians in the south. And in the Robotyno area, this is a strategic direction to the cities of Tokmak and Melitopol, through which the land corridor of the Russian to Crimea runs. The armed forces of Ukraine are already breaking through the main line. As Zaluzhny said, according to the Wall Street Journal article, the Ukrainian Armed Forces are already on the verge of breaking through the entire defense of the Russians.
At the same time, the Ukrainian army continues pushing the Russian south of Bakhmut. Instead, the attempts of the Russian army to advance in the Kharkiv region failed. The Russians have huge problems with reserves, and which were really burned in attempts to advance on Kupiansk and Liman. At the same time, the armed force of Ukraine increasing the pressure on the left bank of the Kherson region, from where the Russians are forced to transfer all their forces to Zaporizhia.
The Russian front is beginning to crack, and only the lack of promised aircraft, missiles and more artillery in Ukraine does not allow to solve the issue of the breakthrough of the front even faster.
In any case, Western society should understand that our war is not a game or a shooter on the computer. Ukrainian army fights with a superhuman effort, and having fewer resources achieves the result. And only people who do not understand what is happening here can talk about some failures, and who needs to sell a cheap sensation to the public every day. Instead, Ukraine needs supplies of equipment and weapons, and the result will be even greater.
That's all for today. Please write your comments right under this video.
Give us your like and subscribe for our channel, the channel of the top news, analytics and insights from Ukraine and about Ukraine.
Here we give you the Ukrainian worldview for the world. So subscribe for our channel if you want to know what's really going on here in Ukraine from the inside. Let us be your Ukrainian insiders.
See you.
Papa.